Rise Up Nation, welcome back to Rise Up in Real Estate live stream. Today we're going to talk, hey, happy St. Patrick's Day. Vince's shirt made me think of that. Kenneth's shirt. You guys are, I got one stripe on my sock. That's all I got, but happy St. Patrick's Day. I sent Dervila Bucci a message this morning, and she sent me a picture of the Blarney Castle all lit up in green, which is pretty cool, I thought. But welcome back. Those of you that are faithful listeners, we appreciate you. I'm going to give you, oh, look at there. Kenneth, this is how it works. So here's live comments coming in. We got Alicia's on here watching. So today we've got a pretty exciting thing happening. Kenneth, I'm just going to kind of give you the ground rules real quick before we dive in. And we've got some viewers on here that haven't been on here before. What we do is this is a live conversation we're going to have with this dynamo in a few minutes. Vince and I are just going to ask him some questions. Here's got somebody from Atlanta coming in. Hey, Lisa, faithful listener. Lisa, I can't wait to have you on here in a couple of months. Excited to see you on the show. What we do is you can do, those of you that haven't done this before, that you can ask questions live. So if you find your spot on your platform, you can ask a question and we'll pop it up on the screen and we'll answer it the best we can. We'll throw them to Kenneth and let him answer once we get into the dialogue, because we've got a bunch of you on here that haven't been on here before. And what we do, Kenneth, is we'll record live today on Facebook and on our social platforms. And then after we close today, after 50 minutes or so, we send it off to the editors. They edit it as the podcast that will go on next Monday on all the podcast channels. We'll give it a title depending on what profound things you say today. And then
we'll see.
And then we'll go. There's Tracy. Tracy's on here, our Bold Trail expert. Hey, Tracy, happy St. Pat's Day. But let's just dive right in. Vince, do you have a good weekend? I mean, you're all greened out. Is that pollen on your shirt, or is that it's green?
No, this is a green golf polo today in honor of Rory McIlroy, an Irishman who just won in overtime today on St. Patrick's Day. It's pretty cool how that all lined up. But yeah, had a great weekend. Did the St. Patrick's Day parade in North Myrtle Beach. Typically around 30,000 people. I'm going to say there was 40,000 this year, which is probably why I picked up whatever sickness I have going on here. But we're fine. We're getting through it. But yeah, had a great weekend. What about you guys?
Yeah, I was just telling Kenneth, we have kids like you, Vince, and it was all kid weekend. We got dance, we got parades, we got birthday. Every time I don't think there's something to do, we go to a birthday party. We just get in the car and say, okay, who's got a birthday party today?
Yeah.
Somebody
there's plenty of those all the time. That's for sure.
You guys give, what's the theory here? Do you give gifts at kids? Because I've just been throwing these 6-7-year-olds a $20 bill and they lit up. They love it. Or I'll have my 7-year-old draw a handwritten card.
Yep.
And I'll put a 20 in it. And that's
I'll let the wife handle that stuff. I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I usually do. We did this time. We went to CVS, I got 2 cards. One girl drew on one, the other girl drew on the other one, and I put 2 Target gift cards in there.
There you go.
Kids love it. And when I went to the party, I couldn't believe the stack of presents. I was like the underachiever, because some of these moms and dads do it right. Like giant bows, big boxes. Like I just can't. I got 4 kids and I'm just trying to make it. I don't want my, we're probably not the overachieving parent. Like when kids come to our birthday party, I'm like, just come, don't bring anything, whatever. Just, it's crazy. Yeah. But yeah, good weekend. We are in coastal North and South Carolina, by the way, for those of you that are listening that might not have been on here before. We're in the middle of transitioning to spring. So we got a little bit of pollen in the air, and it'll be cold one minute, warm the next, thunderstorms, rain, sun. Like I'm looking out Kenneth's window. He's up in North Carolina. Sunny up there today, Kenneth?
Not really. It's
overcast.
A little overcast. Yesterday was really, really rainy in the afternoon. Maybe we'll have some sun pop out. It's not dreary.
Yeah.
You got some greenery popping off.
Yeah, I was noticing that, all the pollen. He just said he cut down. How many gum trees you cut out of your yard?
9.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a good time to do that in the beginning of March.
Yeah, like I said, there was some buds on them like that. They were just full of pollen. They were laying on the ground. They weren't opened up. And I was like, oh, thank God we cut these things down.
Mm-hmm.
It was good for everybody except for the tree. But other than that, if we got any tree lovers on here, sorry about that. Well, it's just how we roll down here in South Carolina.
And those gum trees, and nobody likes them anyway.
No, not gum trees. They don't know the ones that put that little ball that you step on and you break. Just sticks in. Worse than a Lego. Yeah.
I'm not a big tree lover, but North Myrtle Beach just cut down a 200-year-old oak tree for a car.
Oh,
so that would hurt.
I have that hurt. I have you can't see out my window, but I have a pretty wooded backyard, so we still have a lot of trees. I like trees.
Yeah. They cut it down for a car wash,
200-year oak.
For a car wash, huh?
Yeah, and it's actually on the waterway. So there was this beautiful tree right on the waterway. Some guy wrote a big check for the lot, and the tree had to go because they built the car wash right through it.
On the waterway?
Right on the waterway.
Car wash.
Car wash. None of us could believe it.
I have trouble.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I have trouble envisioning that as the highest and best use of that lot.
I agree. We were thinking some beautiful like patio style place around the tree with lights and bar restaurant maybe. Big Dan's car wash.
Just hang out there.
I mean, I'm surprised of all the cities that we live in. We live up and down this coast that would be probably second to Pawleys Island, last to do that.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, I don't know. And in Conway, South Carolina, where we lived, the trees are so protected that they curb the streets around them. So you'll be driving downtown and go around a multiple, century-old tree. It's crazy.
I mean, if they're that old, there's got to be some happy median. I mean, we have some kind of stupid tree policy here, and it's like, really, these are scrub. You got to plant all these back, and I get it, but at the same, I don't know. It's all about balance, I think.
Right, a lot of work. So, Kenneth, welcome to the show. Thank you for volunteering your time for the next 45 minutes to chat about what you do. The purpose of our podcast is always just try to network, connect you to some people you might not know, let them hear your story, hopefully find out something about you that we don't know already, kind of unique through the questions. And why don't you tell us where you're located, what your job is, where you work, and then we'll go on from there.
Okay. I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. I work for Remax Essential, and I'm a commercial real estate broker. So I do pretty much all southeastern North Carolina, primarily focusing in and around Wilmington, New Hanover, Pender, Brunswick County. I do everything from leasing office space to selling development sites to industrial. Our marketplace isn't quite big enough really to necessarily specialize in one segment of commercial real estate. So, I mean, I probably have done every kind of commercial deal you can think of over the years.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I don't hardly sell any. I started out selling houses, and that was good. I mean, when you asked me what we wanted to talk about, I struggled. I'm like, I don't know. We talk about all kinds of stuff. Yeah. But the fundamentals is kind of what stuck out to me. Is like, okay, well, let's talk about that. So, kind of learning to crawl before you walk, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig into that, and I also want to give Alicia the permission. Alicia, if you feel like jumping in and asking him something I might not think of, if he's got a cool story or something that he's been through or some strength that I might not even know about yet, because I've met Kenneth, probably 4 or 5 months ago, and had been impressed watching you from a distance so far. So you're married, right? Let's make you look real human before we talk about.
I'm married. My lovely wife, Lindsay, works with me. She and I. Our team, well, I'm the broker. She handles a lot of the back office stuff and paperwork, and she gets to deal with a lot of that frustration while I deal with the front of the house frustrations. How long joys, I would say as well.
So the listeners know, Kenneth, how long you've been selling?
20 years.
Yeah. So if you don't believe that he's been doing this 20 years, because he looks young, right?
I'll be 45 this year.
You started when you were, and you're probably right at 20, yeah?
25.
25 years old, yeah. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
Well, 24. Yeah. That was so I started I did construction work through high school and through college. I got a business management and marketing degree from Appalachian, and I was working and just various construction jobs. I did pretty much everything except for electrical and plumbing. So I had that kind of background. And then, I got the business degree and got out of college. It's like, I mean, what am I going to do here? And I started getting, I should get an insurance license. My mom was like, if you're going to get that, you should just get a real estate license. And my dad and I were looking at buying a property management company, and that came with an apartment. It was an apartment complex, had a management company, and it needed 2 real estate licenses. Went and took the classes together. We both got, back then it was a salesperson's license, and then immediately a broker's license, and then that deal didn't work, didn't pan out. So I went and joined the company. Didn't know anything about selling real estate. Went through their sales training and just sort of, I mean, back then it was 2005, the start of 2005, and then, I mean, you could just show up, and things were so hot, and I can't believe people were listening to me, advising them on their most important investment in their life. But I took it seriously though, and I went to a lot of training and just mastered. I think one of the best things you can tell someone is that I don't know, but I'll find out. So I leaned on experts and had some good mentors over the years, and one thing led to another, and now I do really complicated things it all sort of builds up from all of the things.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like Vince, what you said is what I thought when I met Kenneth. I was like, okay, I met him in this this situation where I was meeting a lot of people at the same time, and I was trying to put in my mind where everybody fit. And I immediately thought young residential agent, probably been doing it
up in the sales meeting type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
I didn't really,
meeting, but whatever.
Yeah, I didn't really think that. And once I got to know how long he's been doing it, and when he talks about we'll get into this in a minute, when he talks about what he does, it's pretty complex. He just takes it super serious. You have 2 kids too, right?
Yep.
And you were a good athlete in high school? You were a good athlete growing up?
Yeah, I was an athlete. I mean, a good athlete. I don't know how good.
Yeah, here's a good one.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Kenneth doesn't. Can you see that comment?
Yeah, I don't fit in. Thanks, Alicia.
That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you unique, and probably very good at what you do. Hey, Vince, before I forget, we can't get a picture of it right now, probably Kenneth, but right outside that window that's looking to his backyard, he's built an incredible putting complex, chipping complex for himself.
Yeah,
he told me that 2 of his neighbors actually have one too, and they have like a 3-hole course they can play like on a Friday afternoon. How cool is that?
If that's what not fitting in gets me, I don't want to fit in either. That sounds
right.
Yeah, that's no fun. Fitting in is no fun.
Did you see the comment above that, Tad?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to put that one on there. Let's see what
she'll make up for it here.
Oh, well, there you go. That's pretty impressive. So let's talk about that. I thank you, Alicia, for pointing that out. I mean, that's nothing to us. I mean, I'm sure there's not only 3 commercial brokers in North Carolina, and you're number 2. I mean, that's pretty good. And what's great about you, man, is that you don't like a lot of times when I win an award, you can tell because I'm like bragging about it and talking about it, and I just probably carry the trophy on my shoulder. But you just are pretty even keel and just do your deal, and you can't tell whether it's good, bad, best. But you're 2 in North Carolina. Where does that mindset come from, Kenneth? Like, how do you stay humble that way?
I think that it's probably from athletics and sports, and just sort of let your game do the talking. And I mean, I coach a kids basketball team, and I try to teach them that, like you don't want to be out there having a big head and being cocky and whatever you want to call it, but just perform, just go through. You score, you go back in the other end and play defense. You don't celebrate. I mean, of course you celebrate it. You have your moments of celebration, and we celebrate. We get together, we do them. I'll hold the trophy and do the Heisman or whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to do. But then it's back to business.
Yeah. Did you learn that from your parents? Did you learn that is that coach or what?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. My dad coached my team growing up, a basketball team. And I mean, I played through middle school and early in high school. And all the coaches, I would say, I don't know what it's like nowadays with kids' attitudes and how, showboating and stuff, but that's frowned upon in my mind.
Right.
And
right.
I think that's, I think that's a value that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. This is an interesting conversation with you because to me, like, hopefully at the end of the show, you won't go, man, I should be probably more cocky than I am. Cause that's not what I'm saying. I appreciate the way that you look at it because what you do is super complex. And I know a lot of people in this business. I mean, I've done this for a long time, just like you. And I kind of make it my mission to meet all the people I can and ask them questions and figure it out. You don't even know how good you do. Like you don't know, but I like that because I don't really think Steph Curry really worries about what everybody else is doing either. Like the real elite, Michael Jordan, he was only competing against himself.
Yeah, exactly. I watched that. I watched said the exact same thing. And then also back to the topic of fundamentals. If you ever watch Steph Curry warm up, for example, he doesn't go out there firing threes off the gate. He's right in front of the basket. He makes 10 shots, 10 shots, then takes one step back, 10 shots in a row, one step back, one after another. It's styling into those fundamentals instead of, what you see on the court is the result of a lot of fundamental training and learning how to handle this certain situation. Same thing in any business and in life. It's whether you're swinging a golf club or whether you're doing anything, it's, what is the basic thing that I need to master to take to the next level? So if it's learning terminology or learning how does this recorded easement affect the marketability of this property, what can I do with it to make it better? What's the highest and best use? How, people ask me all the time, what's this worth? And I'm like, I don't know. It depends on so much. And granted, when you're selling houses, it's a lot different because you can find some probably pretty decent comparables. You'll have a much better general idea. But even then, still, I don't know, what kind of fixtures does it have? What does that, that's a lifestyle thing, right? Versus what I do, it's not about lifestyle at all. It's about how much money does it make and how do I back into a value. At the end of the day, the business owner, whoever's going to occupy that property, has to make a profit. So understanding the fundamentals of and everybody's business is different too. Like, how do you make money? So, all right, we got to figure out what is the highest and best use of this property. How does that person make money? What can they afford to pay? What's that building need in order to get them to that place? How much is that going to cost? And how do we back into the primary question of how much is this worth? And it's worth different things to different people. So understanding all of those things that get into that is sometimes a major undertaking.
Yeah, that is. It's interesting that you just talked to you. I want to say hey to Alina. Hey, Alina, good to see you back on the show. Interesting to me that you're asking so many questions. You're not telling anybody anything until you get all the information. And how fascinating is that too, Vince? Like, it's worth different things to different people. Mm-hmm. Like appraisals don't say that in residential necessarily. They're going to compare it to comps. But in reality, if somebody's going through divorce, somebody's got a death in the family, they're having 5 kids, they have 5 kids, they want to have really value is related to what people need it for. But in commercial, Kenneth, what I hear you saying is it's kind of even magnified on that side, right? It's all about that dollar.
Yeah.
If there's a commercial space that's got pre-slotted bays and I want to open a golf simulator place, that's going to look a lot more appealing to me value-wise than if I want to, make it a daycare. That's going to, it's going to mean different things, right? So I hadn't even thought about the fact that you can't just pull comps,
Right.
Like I can tell you pretty
that's a part of it.
what a house is worth. But yeah, you can't just always go full comps.
You just have to look at it in a lot of different angles, and it depends on who you're representing too, and what's whose court am I in, and you have to understand. I mean, this is sort of negotiating 101. You got to put yourself in the other person's shoes, and like, how are they? How do they see it? In order to put your case together. But I mean, different.
Well, that's negotiation 101, but I mean, it's really not like it is for you, but I don't think most people see it that way. I don't think most people, I might be wrong, but I'm not sure. Let's put it this way. If 74% of the people in our business didn't sell a house last year, 74,
wow.
There are not many people sitting back going, okay, what do they want? Like what's best for them? Right. That is negotiation. That's negotiation 101. I agree. But most people don't look at it that way. Like, put yourself in that. And how fascinating that you would ask, who you represent matters.
Matters a lot. And I kind of have a tendency to get all over the place. So, I mean, but yeah, because if I'm in your court and this guy, hey, okay, who are we competing against? Also, is it me? Or do we have are there other interested parties? If I'm representing the seller, then obviously I'm trying to get the highest and best price terms. And are we leasing it? Are we selling it? And if it's a lease deal, sometimes that's more complicated. It is more complicated typically than a sale. Well, I don't know. The lease introduces complications, but how does that affect the net, the future of the property? How is that particular use going to transform the fabric of a neighborhood, for example?
Mm-hmm.
You've got a building and you've got a bunch of people wanting to put convenience store or a nice restaurant or a retail place or whatever, and whatever you decide. So you might have someone who's willing to pay a pretty good bit to do a use, but you don't like the use because it's going to maybe you own other properties around it or whatever, and having that particular use there adversely affects the adjacent properties and also the future for the things that are around it. So if you're thinking long term, okay, well, I want to shape the direction of this community by incorporating this particular use. I'm going to make this thing look good. It's going to cause other people to do nicer things, and that's going to elevate everything else.
You really enjoy what you do, don't you?
I love it.
I can tell that I can see why, because it's like a movement for you. Every transaction isn't even a transaction. I don't even know what you call it, but it encompasses so many things: people, community, environment. I mean, I saw you light up when he said car wash by the waterway. You were like, whoa, there's so many things.
Like, okay, well, let's figure it out. How do we figure that out?
Yeah. I mean, let's talk.
I think that's what I'm good at. Figuring it out.
Yeah. Fundamentals you wanted to touch on, right? So, and the purpose of the show is to be all over the place, Kenneth. So don't stress out about that. I love your stories.
I do fit in.
Talking about all of it, but you wanted to highlight
here. Don't worry.
What'd you say, Vince?
I said you fit in here.
I do fit in.
That's right. Oh, see there, Alicia, he does fit in.
You know what? He keeps you keep saying, whose court am I in, right? Whose court are we in? And you use we a lot, which is great because this is a team thing for you. I can tell, and you're thinking. So last week's guest said she envisions, and she's a residential agent. She envisions everyone wearing a hat, and the hat says, "What's in it for me?" So she's trying to think as she talks to these people. Okay, they want to know what's in it for them, right? So you're kind of doing the same. So we talk about fundamentals. The first thing you're doing is putting yourself into the context of empathy. You could even call it. I don't know if you consider yourself an empath, but you're thinking, what are they feeling? Whose court am I in? And I'm providing a service, right?
Well, that's our job, right? I mean, unless I'm doing something for myself, but my job as a broker is to represent the best interest of my client and help them make the right decisions and if I don't, then that can ever, that's heavy. If I direct someone to do something, make a poor decision, then I got to carry that. And I'm not, not that I'm all, they have to make their own decisions, but a lot of people, especially like young business owners, they rely on us to guide them. So
yeah. That's cool. So when you first started, I don't know how many, like, what to you is fundamentals? When you first started this business, it's interesting to me. You came out of college, you were kind of trying to find your way. You got your license really for a secondary purpose, and then before you know it, that purpose is gone, and now you got to decide what to do, right? So you got in. You obviously fell where you loved now. But what were the fundamentals for you in the beginning? There's people that listen to our show that are just getting started with this new business kind of thing. Let's talk a little bit about fundamentals. And I think it's cool that you chose fundamentals, because we used to always say when my son played high school basketball, he put the fun in fundamentals. And that's kind of you, Kenneth.
My wife had just a side note there. She had a speech therapist. She was a speech therapist. She worked for a company for a while, and then she started her own company, and we named it Fundamental Speech Therapy. And same, like, highlight fun, fundamentals. And anyway, so your question is, what are the fundamentals I see for, like, as far as starting out the business? Well, I do this often, and I try to, like, map out almost like an organizational structure of, like, business practice. Let's call them departments, and there's a lot. From prospecting, sales, like how to talk to people, and then managing the transaction, and you get into how to negotiate a contract. What are the terms of the contract? Reading the contract. And in my world, we do have some standard contracts, but a lot of times they're not standard. So if some of these shopping centers have 7,500 page leases that really don't need to be that long, quite honestly. But so anyway, just the standard terms that you need to understand, and the physical conditions, and understanding to the extent that you're qualified, structural components of the nuts and bolts of things, and then the scheduling. How do you structure your day and your week and your month and your year, and systematically staying in touch with the right people, doing the right kind of marketing. And it's just, for me, I don't really do that. I used to, but now I just don't. I would like to, maybe, but and again, so this is another thing I said to you earlier when we were talking about what we were going to talk about. Is, I'm not saying that you asked me about, or I said mastery of fundamentals is what it's all about, and that's the thing. I think is what all of it is about. But, and you asked me if it was talking about real estate or in life, and I said I think all of it, and that doesn't mean that I've done that in all aspects, but that's the goal. I think we can strive to do that, and I've got there's a lot of gaps in my ideal, bit structure and things. I learn new things every day, and I think that's another thing is, we all should learn something every day.
Yeah.
And probably in real estate, we learn something every day.
Do you feel like you freelance? Do you feel like you freelance each transaction, if I can call it that, or do you have a very systematic way of talking through the fundamentals in your own mind? Now you're probably doing it second nature, but if you would give me advice, like, let's say I was going to get into commercial real estate, is it you freelance? Because you seem like a craftsman. Like, you probably look at the deal and you've had so much experience, you can carve it the way you want to now. But is there a systematic way you can do it?
I think so. I mean, it's funny going back to what you said about the hat. I'm pretty sure I know where she got that was from. What's in it for me? Like, what was it? Floyd Wickman, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was back at a trainer. Everybody listens to the same radio station, WIFM. What's in it for me?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think I built on those fundamentals of that process from learning how to go on, like, what's the process of going on a listing appointment?
Yeah.
You gotta go, you gotta have some small talk. You take them to the table, you tour the house, you talk about it, and you stack the problems, like, okay, and then here's my little book that shows yay me
The value
kind of
prop.
thing. And you know, I think with a house you can probably you could standardize that and do it over and over and over and over and over and over, the exact same thing, and without varying too much. And that course was really good for that. This was it, Star Makers, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a bunch of them too. But now I don't have anything formal. I just sort of go there and have conversation with people. And my goal initially is to learn about the property and learn about the situation, and quite frankly, just try to make a decision about whether that I can add enough value, and also what's is it worth the time? Because you can get heavily bogged down with all kinds of work that's an uphill battle. Do those people have realistic expectations? Are they asking you to do something that, how complicated, how much time is it going to take me to just go and evaluate that? And are we talking about a $2 million deal that has, decent probability of me finding this or locating it for this person or whatever the case may be? Or are we just talking about someone who's not going to be loyal, who's going to just spend my time and not, try to beat me up at the end, or, whatever, those kind of things.
Yeah.
That parallels to both sides of well, really anything, residential and commercial. But what I just heard, Tad, was I'm not right for everyone, and everyone's not right for me.
Absolutely.
Which is one of our core beliefs or fundamental beliefs, you could say. So if you're out there listening and you're still of the thought that you must take every client, well, the abundance mindset we like to talk about says, no, like, you're not right for every client, and talk us through that. Like, I mean, saying no, that's a fundamental right.
It's hard. It's really hard to do, because especially if you're a pleaser, if you're a people, you want to make people happy. You want to help them. And I like that abundance mentality thing too, by the way. I say that all the time. There's plenty to go around, so there's no need to be stingy. There's no need to, hoard your ideas or whatever. I think the rising tide raises all ships.
Absolutely.
And what I would really like to do on that is to get to the point where I can go do some prospecting, where I can go and choose what I want to do. Because right now I don't. I've been every now and then I'll have a client that's looking for something, and so then it'll require me to get on the phone and start calling certain, hey, do you want to sell? But that's, as far as that's about the limit of the prospecting goes. What I'm hoping to get to the point to is that I can either say no enough, or build enough structure to where some of the things that I would otherwise say no to, that, because it might not be the same. There is still value in doing things that for some people to do that I might not want to do for the experience, because sometimes you got to get kicked in the teeth in order to know how to not do that again.
Mm-hmm.
So I've lost my train of thought. So remind
No,
me.
that's good. I mean, I think I want to ask this. Tracy asked the question: how the relationships making those connections with clients differ when dealing with commercial versus residential? I'm assuming. Are they just people too, or is it super business like when you're in commercial?
They're people. They're people too. Everything is a relation. Everything is a personal relationship, and my style is that I don't tuck my shirt in. I wear shorts and tennis shoes, and I now to say that's not 100% of the time. And if I'm meeting with an executive from a big national company, I'm still going to be very loose. I'm not. I don't really believe in putting on makeup and creating a front, so to speak. I am who I am, and I'm gonna speak confidently about what I'm talking about, and I'm gonna get to know the client. And yeah, absolutely, they're just people too. They put their pants on just like you and me. Some people are more, when you're dealing with bigger organizations, there's more bureaucracy, and they have to go through a chain, so to speak. But at the end of the day, it's the relationship. Typically, even those the like retailers or these big companies, they'll have someone who's their development guy or franchisor or whatever, and you're going to have a personal relationship. That's your main point of contact, and it's still a personal relationship. So the more you can establish some common ground and make light of things. I'm constantly making light of things, maybe to a fault, just, but I think that's a part of what makes people comfortable is that you're a human. I mean, if you can laugh together with somebody, they're probably going to like you.
Yeah. That's fascinating to me. You obviously do a lot of business. We hadn't talked about what your production is, but if you're number 2 in North Carolina, and most time number 1, you do a lot of business. I'm curious, how hard is it in commercial real estate to find the decision maker, and how many relationships do you have that can you figure out who's just like the key holder, and then you finally get to the decision maker, or are you just trying to build great relationships with everybody?
It depends. Depends on what it is. It depends on what it is. I mean, if it's a property owner, then yeah, it's pretty easy to figure out who that is. If it's a company, then sometimes it's hard to get, it depends on how big the company is and how much layers of protection they have to their CEO or whoever. I mean, that you can go to the Secretary of State website and pull the annual report and find out who the members of a corporation are. And oftentimes they'll have a phone number. And so then, I mean, you can go on tax records and find, I like this building over here. Okay.
Yeah.
Go to the tax records. And who's the owner? Okay. I can go and just look them up and, I'll go knock on the door. I mean, I used to do, when I was, I guess early in college, like 1999 or something, I used to sell satellites. And that was like my first sales job. And I got the door slammed in my face so many times. But we would make like $100 you'd go out, we would go out in these rural areas, not just drive out where they didn't have cable and stuff, and just knock on the doors. And you make $100. You sell it and install it, and pay you $100. And you do 1 or 2 of those in a day as a teenager, and you're good. But it was really good training on rejection and just not having the fear to just make that call. Like, now I'll call. I don't care. I'll call anybody. I need to find this information. Who are you? Here's why I'm calling. And typically people are pretty receptive. Now, I think it might be different in the residential world, probably, because I get 1,000 calls not 1,000. I get a lot of calls from people. Do you want to sell your house? Do you want to sell your house? I'm like, no, I don't want to sell my house. And I'm good. I've got that covered if I do, kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm not sure how that. I don't know. As far as doing prospecting for as a residential agent, I don't really know how that would be in this day and age.
Right.
But on that note, so like those people calling and saying, hey, I want to sell your house. You want to sell your house, blah, blah, blah. You said earlier that when you show up to a commercial property, you're just looking around to see if this thing could even work.
Yeah.
You're not even worried. You're not asking to sell anything. You don't even know if you're right for that guy, if he's right for you or gal, if this business model makes sense for you to get involved in. So residential agents, I got a lot of notes here. A lot of this translates, right? So being authentic, not assuming you're right for everyone. At one point you've said, just read the contract. Just know what the contract says, right? Whose court am I in? But yeah, showing up to the property and just seeing if this whole thing makes sense. Those are all good fundamentals that are for both worlds, commercial and residential, I think, that we can remember.
Yeah, and I think authentic is another one that I thought of. We had Dan Bartleson on here a few weeks ago, and I mean, you can't help but say Kenneth is just Kenneth, and it works. But I think you found your way. Like, you've probably always been, maybe because of the way you were raised, you've just been who you are. But you found your way. Like, I don't mind that you wear shorts and t-shirt because you've got confidence and you know who you're talking to, and they know, and you probably don't do a lot of prospecting, so people are probably reaching out to you most of the time. And I know you want to change that, but talk to me a little bit. We talked a minute ago about your schedule before we got on the air, and I think it's refreshing to hear how you view your schedule, not unapologetically. You do a lot of business, but talk to me about your daily routine and like your Monday to Friday or Saturday, Sunday routine. So my listeners can, go easier on themselves than they probably used to.
Yeah. Well, I wish I had a better daily routine. So that's one of the things I said is that, just because I think mastery of this thing is ideal doesn't mean that I've done it. On a weekly schedule, I try to ease into Monday and ease out of Friday. And I don't do a lot of working on the weekends. Most of my people don't. I mean, they're business people. They're Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 type thing. So Monday is kind of, Monday I have my pad, and the first thing I try to do every Monday is get my list. Like, it's just a brain dump. What do I have going on? Where is the status of all these transactions? Who do I need to call? What do I have scheduled? And how can I fit in, try to time block. And that's a huge challenge. Especially in this business where someone's going to call and they're going to want to have this, or this is going to come up. And so that's something that I struggle with, quite honestly, is scheduling and establishing a repeatable routine that's a consistent routine. But I try to get in the morning. I try to get in the morning, like knocking out things that are easy to put off, because the longer the day goes, the more people are calling. And if it's not scheduled, if it's something that's on my list, I got to get done. But like if I need to, and prospecting is a prime example of that, which I don't do very much, but I would like to. I would do that, and I would schedule that in the morning, because as the day goes on, the likelihood of you getting to that, and again, it may be different in residential when people are home, and even if you're making phone calls or whatever, again, I don't know how that would go, but I'm calling business people. They're in the office in the morning, and that's when I would just try. I mean, if it's an hour a day or a certain number of calls a day, and I'm terrible at doing that. I try to incorporate that into my schedule, and I typically fail.
Yeah, I can see why you want to talk about fundamentals, because, like, I've seen, if I could say this, I've seen 2 or 3 opportunities for you to be even better than you are, right? And this is you're an athlete, or you were, and and your son is, you said your son, you've told me a couple of times, he's a pretty good athlete. You're coaching him, and you know that development is where it's all about. Like, you're not where you're going to end up. I mean, I'm 56 and I'm trying to learn how to run. Like, I've never been a runner. I've always had a terrible attitude about running, but the last week, 2 weeks, I've done a few runs. And for me, it's just about pushing that limit of not knowing what it's going to do to me. Like, how am I going to grow? How's it going to make me feel? Let's stop being so negative. And I've learned little microscopic things, which have been really cool. But for you, like you and I have talked about a team member. We won't go into detail on that, but if you could leverage yourself with the right person, then to offload some of that stuff that you're so good at and so experienced that someone newer could learn and grow with, that you could prospect. You have a great opportunity for time blocking, right? You have to prospect. If you're not, this saying, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
Right. You're fortunate to be reactive in a lot of your business, but you've got a proactive mind. You're always thinking about what's next and how can I grow and what can I do? But time blocking is probably a good opportunity for you to take control, a little bit of what you've got going on. But I know if you added one of those dominoes, then probably with the way you build, the 3 or 4 of those things are going to happen, right? Are you CCIM?
No.
Did you ever see that?
I've done quite a few of the CCIM classes. I just haven't gone through. I mean, I think my mindset on that is just what has just been. I'm just busy working. I'm just doing the thing instead of taking the time to go to the class. I'll just learn it through the practice, and I could get those numbers, those letters behind my name. But I don't know that the average person really cares. They care that once you have to demonstrate that, and I guess probably having that designation does tell to some people that you know what you're talking about.
Does anybody ever ask you?
Yeah. Oh, if a client or someone no, never.
No,
only other brokers, and I've been asked, and typically it's regarding whether they should go take the CCIM classes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a member of the CCIM organization.
Yeah.
And same with there's different like ICSC, that's the Shopping Center Council. So they have all the segments in commercial real estate have their little side organizations where they're specialized knowledge about this or that, and they have conventions and websites with different databases and resources and stuff like that. So
who do you lean on for, call it growth or, at work in your business?
Well, when I transitioned from residential to commercial about, 10 years ago, I had done a few commercial deals all along. But nothing complex. Which, we might sell a commercial property and build some warehouses on it, or subdivide some land with some commercial zoning or something like that. But I mentioned a mentor. I had a really good mentor, Randy Cox. Whenever I started doing commercial, and I worked pretty much like in the same office with him. I would drive. We had an office up at Topsail Beach at that time, and I would just drive up there every day from Wilmington. 45-minute ride or whatever. And that helped me tremendously, which I'm very grateful for that.
And that's something right there, Kenneth. That's why I asked. I hope people heard that. So my man's transitioning from residential to commercial. He's driving 45 minutes one way to be around someone who knows what they're doing. Yeah. Right. So why do we think in 2025 that we can have it all figured out from, the living room couch? Do you know what I mean?
You're not gonna.
That's not how this goes. So we talk a lot about brand and the people that are around you and all too. So sometimes just being around the right people, what do they say? You're a product of the 5 closest people around you. Show me your friends. I'll show you your future. That feels like that to me. And that's a fundamental.
Yeah. And typically what I was doing while I would go up there, he had relationships with a lot of the, developers and the companies and the people that were doing business. And like, let's say he had a listing, my job would be to go and I would call on these retailers or people to fit it. And I was just sitting there, and a lot of it, I learned from just talking to those people, and it's trial by fire, sort of. And right now, it's a good question. I don't really know. I don't know who I lean on. My colleagues, I guess, other brokers, as we're working through deals, there's the cooperation is necessary a lot. In a residential transaction too, but particularly in a commercial transaction that has a lot of complications, you must have a good relationship with your co-broke. That can make, because odds are like, I don't know, I never did this, I don't know about this, I never did this before. What's this?
Yeah.
What do you think about? How do we attack
Residential,
it?
you can
Because at
kind
the
of
end of
be,
the day, we have the same goal, which is to get everybody together.
yeah, you can be a little snotty to each other the whole way and still close on a house. But
Right.
in your world, you guys kind of have to put it all on the table and figure this crap out.
And sometimes we butt heads. There's definitely, I mean, it can get heated sometimes too, depending on the situation, of course. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of resources on it online too, just for like, what does this mean? How do I figure out this formula? What's the formula for this or that? Or
so you're going out and finding it. You're going out and finding it when you need it.
Yeah, and the technology too, which with AI, and I think that's really fascinating, and I don't really incorporate it very much in what I do every now and then. I mean, I have like ChatGPT and I use it sometimes, but not very often. But I think the capability for the knowledge base to be there, it's a game changer. So you may not have to know all this stuff that you think you know. You just have to be willing to go and be able to go and find it and apply it.
Yeah.
Knowing when to apply what, this is like, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah. We like two questions around here. What do you want, and what are you willing to do to get it? So you want that deal to close. What are you willing to do to figure it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is confirmed for me. I did a video a few weeks ago about whether or not real estate was an art or a science. And if you do the research on what art and science are, like the definition of those two words, I think real estate is both.
I was actually going to say that too.
And I think you display that the way that you talk. Like you're in my perception after spending 50 minutes with you is you're very open. Not many people that are number one or two in their business are very open. Like you're just open to learning. You're open to growth. You're open to negotiation, collaboration. I think it's refreshing to hear you say, I don't know that. Like you've been very upfront with fundamentals. I just don't, there's opportunities for you for growth. I think that's really cool. But there's a science to it also, that there's a lot of things you've got systematized by your actions and your learning over the years that you just do second nature now.
Yeah.
You just heard the guy say he doesn't work on Saturday and Sunday, and he eases out of Friday and into Monday. And I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? And those of you that are out there going, I could never do that, my clients don't allow me to, there's the problem. You make the rules, right? To some degree.
Yeah, I mean, you got to let yourself take a break. I mean, we don't live to do this. My granny used to say, we don't live to eat, we eat to live. Same with work. I mean, you obviously want to elevate yourself to whatever level you want to, too. And for me, that's how I have big goals and big, dreams, I guess. Or I don't know. I live pretty simple, though. I don't really need a whole lot. But you got to work hard. No one's going to give it to you. And yeah, you have to work smart and hard. And I mean, you can do $2 or $3, $5 million deals, or you can do, 100 little small deals that are going to be, so that, and that's another thing, that's another struggle too, is, well, you can't turn those little deals down because they're what sometimes that's what lead to the big deals. And then they also allow you to support the big deals. So when you put in something together, those little deals might be the components that go into that as well. So,
your tone and affect is just so, it's like, this is just what it is. Like these things are so deep and foundationally inside of you that, like, you just work for it. Like, are you feeling that, Tad?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what I was trying to say a minute ago. I mean, but I don't think it happened by accident. Like, I think
no, yeah.
It's curated over time, and where he is now, he's comfortable with it. The lesson for me is, be open to the fundamentals as you go along, and master the ones that you need to, and then surround yourself with people that know all the other stuff. And I think for you, it's like, I always say stuff my granny said, so that's why I put that on the ticker here, because grannies know everything. And I bet that's going to be the quote that goes on the cover of your podcast for next week. But I mean, yeah, it's just refreshing. And here's what I would hope, Kenneth, as we wrap up. Like, if there's anybody out there, and I know I've done this a couple of times, even though they haven't panned out, if anybody listening has a commercial referral in the southeastern North Carolina area, you let this expert help you with it, right? Just pass it that way. Or if you want to learn anything about about building golf greens in your backyard, or about Appalachian State, what is it like to raise kids? Let's find out how his wife's dental work went. There's a lot of things we learned today about Kenneth. I'm hoping it will increase your network. And I mean, I'm happy to have you as part of the group now, man. I mean, you really are.
Me too. I'm happy to be here.
We've got some strong, man. I mean, with you and Richard and Robert, I mean, do we have three of the best in North and South Carolina? I would say we do. But I'm glad you're part of that. You bring a refreshing uniqueness to this thing that can be very stuffy and complicated. And I appreciate that about you very much.
Yeah, I want others listening too to, like, I would really appreciate you on the other side of a deal, like your mentality. So when you're working deals, residential or commercial, if you're out there watching, just approach this as, hey, what's the site picture here? What do we need to do? And let's get it done.
Yeah, that's that. Butch Saunders, which you guys know, he said something one time that stuck in my mind. That is, whenever you go to the other broker, whoever you're working with, is like, look, my job is not, I'm not going to make this hard. Like, I'm not here to make this hard. I obviously have to represent my client, but the goal is to get together, and let's find where that common ground is. So these are must-haves. These are must-haves. These are I can deal with. Like, but when you have two brokers who have egos getting it, I mean, that's a disaster. Your ego is your worst enemy in that, when you're trying to work collaboratively with somebody.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So we're wrapping up. How can somebody find you, Kenneth, if they've enjoyed what they've heard today and they want to drop you a note? Or they can't find you on social. We already talked about that, but email or phone number, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, my email, kfisher@beachtownbrokers.com, and my phone number is 910-616-2123. That's my cell number. I keep it pretty simple. Beachtownbrokers.com is my website. It's probably dated, but probably just text or email or phone call, just old school. I got a fax machine too.
There you go. Now, I mean, listen, it's
actually e-fax.
Someone
wanted me to fax something for them the other day. I'm like, you want me to fax it? Okay.
Facsimile. Well, Kenneth, thank you for being on the show. I'm gonna leave you with Kenneth doesn't fit in. I think you guys can see that. Like, it's just a refreshing perspective that you bring to this complicated commercial world. And I wish you. How's 25 started off for you? Is it good so far, or how are you finding it?
So far so good. I mean, it's pretty, kind of steady, and it's always hard to. Our deals take a lot longer typically. So I mean, we got some good things in the pipeline. We've closed a few things so far this year. But yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good so far. I think we're on track. I try not to get too bogged down in tracking production. Just go to bat get up and go to bat every day. But yeah, I think so far so good. I think that we shall see what economic things happen, but at the end of the day, people are doing business.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, with Vince, with every answer, he just confirms what I already thought.
Yeah, there's so much here. I hope people understand like really what's happening right here.
Yeah,
it's just true. It's just real. It's authentic. It's very authentic, man. And that's you can't really teach that either. So
right.
Right.
You can develop
Not Fitting In is an absolutely fantastic place to be. So well done.
Yeah. I wish you 30 more years of great success. If you want to go that long, if not, do 15. That'd be fine too. So
yeah.
I don't think retire. I mean, I don't know. I do like it. I do like what I do. So I don't know. Talk about this sometimes. It's like, would you retire? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Depends on how many invites you get.
That's a pretty good place to be with people counting down the years to their retirement date. So you figured something out, man.
It's fun. I don't know. I never get bored.
I used to play golf with a guy. We'll end with this story. I used to play golf with a guy that could tell you how many days it was till he retired, like literally every day. And he owned like 7 McDonald's franchise locations. Sad end of the story is he died before that date got there. He played a lot of golf, but he was so focused on what's coming and not worried about, like you just said, the at-bats that he was currently
It's the journey, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's the journey. So keep that in mind. Rise Up Nation, thanks for tuning in today. We appreciate you guys very much. Kenneth, thank you for being excellent and joining us. And I'll get you all the collaterals next Sunday night. You'll get an email from me with all the stuff so that you can use it however you want to for next Monday. But thanks for donating your time, man.
Sure. Thanks for having me. You guys have a great one.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day.